Eastern Illinois head coach Chris Wilkerson. The Panthers, coming off an 8-3 season last year, they're going to open up play at FBS opponent Illinois on Thursday night on the Big Ten Network. So, Coach, just some thoughts about your team and opening up the season this week.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kyle. We're really excited. It's that time of year. The guys have worked really hard since the end of last fall through the winter program, through the spring program, summer camp, and certainly during preseason. And, you go through 15 practices during the spring, you go through 22 practices in the fall, and they're tired of playing against each other. They're ready to compete against somebody else. And, we've got that first opportunity this Thursday night. We're relatively healthy coming out of preseason. We've got some bumps and bruises, but really excited about the opportunity to compete against a very well-coached, very talented football team in Champaign.
Thanks, Coach. Again, if you might have questions, let me know down in the chat and I'll call on you. We'll go with Dan from Prairie State Pigskin first. Go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Chris.
Morning.
Traditionally, how have you approached, season openers? And I guess, is that any different when you're playing an FBS school?
Yeah, no, we're going to approach it the exact same way. We really focus on ourselves and we're still focused on process. And so, we went through the first 22 practices and we're putting in, what we think we need in our toolbox for this football team this season on offense and defense and special teams. And we continue to focus on ourselves and trying to improve in different areas, become more situationally aware and be able to execute at a very high level. Certainly we're fortunate to be able to return a ton of people that have at least played in our program, in our systems, and have continued to develop as players. But, we really can't control who we're going to play, where we're going to play, when we're going to play, what the weather is going to be like. And for us, we just want to be our best version of ourselves. And that means focusing on ourselves and the process and the things that we can control. And that's our attitude, our approach, and our response as we continue to prepare for this week.
Understanding that, but has the transfer portal made that even more difficult to focus on opponents because maybe you don't know until a few weeks in?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, certainly there's some roster turnover, at every team that we're going to play. And certainly early in the year, especially in the opener, you don't know for sure, but it's very easy to keep your eyes and ears open and you hear things and you see things and you read things. And I know that they have addressed, what they thought were some areas that they needed to address in the offseason. And they've added a ton of very, very talented football transfers, in addition to returning some players that have developed in Coach B's program. So, they did certainly address those, what I think they thought were needs. And they have a ton of guys who have played a lot of college football on their roster. They just might not have necessarily played in games together in that specific University of Illinois football uniform yet.
And then I got one more and I'll get it out of the way for Scott, but obviously you got the personal connection with your son and his godfather.
Yeah, so Barry Lunny Jr., the offensive coordinator at the University of Illinois, is my son Peyton's godfather. He and Miss Janelle, his wife, are Peyton's godparents, and really fortunate to meet them along the coaching journey at San Jose State University. My first season there was in 2002, and Barry joined us in 2003 and 2004. Peyton was born August 31st, 2004, and there was no better people that we could have thought of to ask the honor of being his godparents, and they graciously accepted, and they've been a huge influence in his life. And certainly we've stayed very close with the families through the years. Sharon and I, our journey went from California to Dartmouth in New Hampshire for a number of years, and then the University of Chicago, and then coming home in 22. And Barry, he and his wife, Janelle, Luke and Levi, their two children, their journey has taken them certainly back to Arkansas, where he worked with his father, who's a legendary high school football coach, Barry Lunny Sr. in Arkansas for a few years. And then he had a chance to get back in the college game. And Barry was a very good player for the Razorbacks. And Coach B, his staff, when he came to Wisconsin, he didn't have a ton of ties to the area, the Arkansas area. And so Barry was a guy that somebody recommended he talked to, and he worked with Coach B. And then after Coach B left, he was retained by Coach Morris, was the interim head coach at the end. Had an opportunity to get that job, wasn't chosen, and then went to UTSA for a fall, and certainly then joined Coach B back in Champaign. So he's a heck of a football coach, a great offensive mind, but even a better person. Just they're unbelievable people, and it's an honor and a privilege for us to call them our son's godparents.
We'll go to Scott Ritchie with a few questions. Go ahead, Scott.
Chris, Scott Ritchie with the Champaign News-Gazette. When we talked with Barry last Friday, he said that knowing you, he has a pretty good idea of what EIU football is, maybe what an EIU defense is. Do you have maybe the same sense about what an Illinois offense is, just knowing Barry?
Well, I know Barry. He wants to score some points and he wants to throw the football around a little bit. But I also know that they play complementary football, and Coach Bielema has done a phenomenal job, and his teams at every stop along the way, and specifically in Champaign, that are his championship teams. They pride themselves on running the football, defending the run, and covering kicks. They're big and physical up front. They've got a three-headed monster at tailback. So I think they're probably going to establish the running game or try to establish the running game early in the football game. But also, I think their quarterback has shown that he can make every single throw possible. I know he battled some injuries last year. The turnover bug was a little bit of a problem for him last year, but another year in the system. The team chemistry seems like it's going very well up there. I know they want to probably try to get him off to a good start as well. So, I would expect there to be some quick, easy throws, and if they can establish the running game, try to get him going on the play action. Certainly returning, their leading receiver on the outside in Bryant, and one of their captains, but then adding Franklin, through the portal that Barry had the experience with at UTSA. They've got weapons all over the place, but I know this: they're going to be big, physical, and they're going to be very well coached. So I would expect them to continue to do those things, and we're going to have our hands full Thursday night.
Yes. What's maybe stood out to you as you've prepped about the Illinois defense then?
Oh, so again, Coach B he's got a firm identity in what he wants to do as a football program. And so when I say, establish the running game or run the football and stop the run, they are built to defend the run. They certainly, at least in the past, have played a version of a bear front. And so it does cause some problems for the offense. They're going to play basically with 5 guys at the line of scrimmage, and they're not afraid to challenge you or contest every player on the perimeter and play man to man. And so they were one of the nation's best defenses, certainly in 22 last year, again, through graduation and injuries. That they struggled maybe just a little bit more than they had hoped to. But I know that they have addressed what they think they needed in the portal and then have made some adjustments. They're very healthy in the secondary, I think, right now, moving the slot corner outside and moving the outside corner back to the slot. The addition of the transfer kid from Texas, addition of an offensive or a defensive lineman from Florida State that is a physical, rugged player. And then again, a ton of players around them that have developed in the program, recruited and developed there in Champaign. And so they're a very, very talented football team on both sides of the football and on special teams. Very aggressive, block kicks, sound in the return game, but they pride themselves on covering kicks. So again, their identity is very much like what we'd like to be. We want to try to limit our turnovers on offense, and we want to take the football away on defense, and we want to be sound in the kicking game. We want to limit explosives and create some explosives. But you really, and now in today's day and age, you got to take what they give you. So if they're going to, load up the box and they're going to have one more blocker than we can block, one more defender than we can block, then we're going to have to read or key somebody, or we're going to have to throw it. And if they want to, lighten the box a little bit and give us a fair fight, and we've got 6-on-6 or 7-on-7, then we've at least got to try to get a body on a body and establish the running game. But we've got to be able to take what they give us. But they do challenge you, they do contest you. And, as a football team, we are going to have to try to win some of our one-on-one battles. That's a big key for us this week.
You mentioned just with your team, a lot of guys that may have played for you, and you're coming off of last year, maybe just missing, on a playoff berth. What have you noticed from your group? I don't know, different, or just made it, a carryover from last year that you feel good about going into this season?
Yeah, they have really done a good job growing and understanding that, from the time the season ended, we said, hey, we wanted to make sure that we took the next step. And for us, that would be having an opportunity to compete in that FCS 24 team national championship playoff field. There's an awful lot of work still to be done, even today and tomorrow and leading up to this first opportunity, but during the course of the season. But the guys have been extremely diligent in their preparation. They have worked very hard. They have brought the new guys into the mix and made them understand kind of what our culture is, and we have continued to grow. And so they knew that, hey, we don't want to relax for 1 second. We've got to continue to improve on something every single day. And I know they're very hungry. Again, it's that time of the year where they're just chomping at the bit for an opportunity to compete against somebody else. And I'm looking forward to watching them continue to grow and certainly work this week.
I guess maybe one more for me. You've got Northwestern coming up in a few weeks. So when you saw the schedule, are you thanking Tom, or you're like, what are you doing to me with two Big Ten teams in the first 3 games?
Yeah, no, it was a unique opportunity. You know, it was a 12-game year and we had a slot, and I think Northwest or Illinois was already on the schedule for this year, and then I think in 27. And the opportunity to play in Evanston popped up, and you know, now it's even more unique with the coaching change that happened last year in the summer, and then you know, the renovation to Ryan Field, and then now that lakefront facility. But again, it's a great opportunity for us as an FCS school, especially in your region. It's great for our alums that happen to be in the area. Certainly, there's national exposure with the Big Ten Network on TV. It doesn't hurt at this level, certainly, to have those big paydays. You know, it helps certainly offset any deficit that we might have in our budgets, or allows us to do some things that we've been able to do here at Eastern Illinois University to improve our student athlete experience. So it's really the cost of doing business, and it's a great opportunity for us to compete, for our alums to be able to, you know, see us, and certainly for our recruits to be able to watch us play our brand of football.
Thanks, Chris.
I appreciate it.
Anybody else? Other questions or follow-ups for Coach?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, Coach, appreciate your time this morning. Good luck this week. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks a million. Go Panthers.